Good morning, people. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
Ha, it is me, Sabira, and my
Shaka.
esteemed partner in this morning show, Morning Mystic Musings.
Hmm.
How you doing, Shaka?
Doing good. How are you, sister?
I'm good. I'm not gonna tip my hand all the way, but you know I'm tired. You know I'm tired, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. They'll find. We'll tell them about
We
that.
will. We'll tell them. Y'all just need to know if we come a little bit low on the energy. There's a reason. We'll let you know a little bit later, but I'm excited. I'm excited about today. I'm excited. It's another Friday. We're at day 15. And wow, not skipping a beat. I love that. I love that. Today's conversation is going to be on how to use your African indigenous spiritual practice to access new levels of freedom. I mean, that just sounds beautiful in and of itself. That just sounds like, yes, I want some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I want to just kind of go back. I'm an amateur historian, and I'm not going to quote dates or anything. I'm just going to talk about concept. And this concept of freedom is something that those of us in the diaspora and just all over the globe, it's a constant um, something that we're constantly thinking about, considering. I think even if it's just something that kind of plays in the back of our minds,
Mm-hmm.
um, because so many people in our bloodline who were not free, who were enslaved, um, with actual physical chains. And today, many of us are enslaved, not only, well, not with physical chains anymore necessarily, but definitely with mental chains and with spiritual chains,
Mm-hmm.
which causes emotional chains. And so when I was thinking about this topic, um, that's what came to mind. I was considering the fact that this practice that we do, this particular spiritual practice, is something that it's about nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it comes naturally. Uh, it's something that our ancestors did, and it was just a way of being. It wasn't even a quote unquote practice. This was just a way of being uh, for our ancestors. Is just their daily life, in and out, just daily comings and goings. You made sacrifice, you gave offerings, you uh, paid attention and took care of your ancestors and your descendants by taking care of yourself. Um, because always understanding that we come back through the bloodline, and we talked about this in an earlier show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I was thinking about having this conversation, Shock, I was thinking our how sometimes, well, let me back up. Go back to the time of it being, physically enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that during those times, I would imagine that our indigenous spiritual practices were probably times, the only ways we could access freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that thought, in and of itself, was mind blowing to me. Come forward,
Mm-hmm.
to where we are today in 2015. And many of us are still enslaved by jobs we don't like. Sometimes we found ourselves in relationships we don't know how to get out of, or alone and don't know how to get out of that. Maybe we want to be in an intimate relationship and we don't know There are things about ourselves that need to be cleaned up so that we can create a loving space for a partner to even want to share with us. Um, financially, many of us are in bondage due to debt, and for me, that's a kicker. That's I'm an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
so thinking of the times where I was in financial bondage, I have a real love to support people in shifting that particular aspect of energy.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that, there are other things that have to be shifted prior to. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where this practice comes in uh, naturally. It may not be normal for a lot of people because we're so used to doing other practices. But once you begin to do it, once I let me take ownership of this. Once I began to do it, it is very natural to my soul. It
Mm-hmm.
is. It feels like home,
Mm-hmm.
and many things have started to shift, not only for me but for those around me. We've talked about that before too. But anyway, I digress. Let me stick to where we are,
Mm-hmm.
and let me just hand it over to you for you to give your kind of preface on this conversation, and then let's just jump right in.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because um, this type of practice, it would seem as if there isn't much freedom. You see, based upon all of the things that you're doing, you got to do this. You're going through this initiation. You're always going from this place to this place, and you got to stay up late. You got to get up early. And it seems like there's a certain type of bondage that one
Mm,
is going through. However, what you begin to realize when you've gone through the process for an extended period of time, and you have an extended awareness of this.
mhm.
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 Um, the constant ritual and the
Mhm.
constant attention to detail,
Mhm.
you begin to see things that were not there before. You begin to make connections that were not there before. You begin, as I said yesterday, there's a certain type of mathematics that you now have. It may have seemed difficult, so difficult you didn't have the tools to solve these problems, but now you have formulas. You're well versed in how to use those formulas and utilize those formulas in order to figure out what's going on in your
Mhm.
environment. So all of a sudden, this thing that you thought was, beating you down, and all I gotta do this, I gotta wake up, I gotta do what? I gotta have what by when? I gotta I gotta visit what place? After a while, there's certain lessons in between, there's certain communication in between, and all of a sudden, you don't realize it, but you have superhuman abilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are picking up on signals,
Yeah.
you are meeting people and changing their lives, or they're changing yours. And these things, if they were happening before, you did not notice them.
And that's the ticket right there. When you were saying, you know, um, that you're seeing signals that weren't there, it's that all of these things were around us the whole time. Hey, we have a viewer. Good morning, viewer.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning. Much appreciation as always that you are here with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am really, Shaka, I am committing that by the end of this month, we're going to have a way for people to actually be able to comment and dialogue with us
Hmm.
on this show. It's going to get much more interactive going into October. So I'm excited that we have a viewer as always, and we've got many people who are viewing, after the show and all this. And I want to make sure that we can actually have dialogue and answer questions and create more engagement with our audience. But anyway, um, seeing things that weren't there, this whole idea that, you know, it's almost like you think you're in bondage,
Hmm.
because there's all these things you have to do. And let's be honest about it. Look, I've gone to Catholic church before. I've attended, mass. I've attended, I was brought up Pentecostal.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has their ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their particular, way that things happen. You have to do this on this day and that on that. African indigenous practices are no different. What I have found to be different,
Mm-hmm.
the place where it becomes different is what you said, access.
Mm-hmm.
And we use that word purposefully in our title today because it's about access. For me, the other practices place limits. There's always a mediator, somebody in the middle. This is the most intimate, speaking of last night, this is the most intimate one-to-one relationship that I've ever had with the divine,
Mm-hmm.
with understanding, last responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
That's a word you used when we were together last night.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, you feel the responsibility. I understand responsibility on a whole different level. I understand
Life and death.
gratefulness,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
appreciation. But really, it was about responsibility, that level of, wow, that the beginning is actually the end, is actually the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so even time shifted. My understanding of time shifted. So things aren't linear. As when I was practicing, even metaphysics, even though metaphysics, you learn about. I mean, I studied Ernest Holmes and all kinds of people from the metaphysics, New Thought was where I got my start.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understood very rudimentarily the about time not being what I thought time was in this linear fashion. But I have an access to time and the ability to now bend time that I didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
We can actually sense when energy is here and when there's an opening that we can move through.
Mm-hmm.
And this is that right now we're just at the beginning of being able to really do that. But it's amazing that we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um
It's sustaining.
and sustain it. And no outside entity, religious body, none of that has control over my ability, over our ability to connect with the minds that are around us and communicate with them and let them know this is what I want. This is the kind of world that I want to create around me. And it begins to take form and fashion. I hadn't had that experience before.
Mm-hmm.
So there is freedom, there is power, there is responsibility and understanding and deep compassion. Deep compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, being a practitioner of African indigenous spirituality. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna leave that there. I'm just gonna drop some tea, sit
Mm-hmm.
here and sip tea, and let you take over from there. But yes.
Well, you know, and we've talked about this kind of before, and this goes into something that when we're talking, well, there's a concept in science that two concepts. One is called centripetal force, and one is called centrifugal force. And one is energy, sort of like energy being controlled by the center, or being tossed off from the center, or holding that energy, and the other one is, just kind of wildly going, so it's on the outskirts, it's being held.
Hmm.
You start to realize through this process that you've moved from the outside as an object that's being held in somebody else's, you know, orbit,
Mm.
or you used to revolve around some other sun, but now you're becoming a sun. You're becoming your own central body. You're creating your own universe. based upon this conversation that you're constantly having, this communication that you're constantly having with, like you said, the different minds and spirits that are around you.
Mhm.
So you get more information. You got more data now to work off of,
Mhm.
and with that additional data, that's how you get that just like we were talking about yesterday, interdimensional um, uh,
Vision.
vision,
Interdimensional vision. Yes.
interdimensional vision. There's interdimensional communication. There's
Mhm.
interdimensional relationship, and we're going through that on a constant basis. Whereas there are other people just walking through life, they don't even know just basic things. It could be basic, very basic things, but they're not even aware. Not that they don't know, but they're not even aware of all of the things that are going on that are playing a role in their lives.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
and
mhm,
they
go
don't.
ahead.
Again, they don't have the opportunity to really. The reason why they can't change that is because sometimes they assign that job of change to some sort of outside source.
Mhm. Outsourcing. Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
They outsource it, or they just don't. They don't realize that they think it's supposed to be that way. Kind of. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does, Shaka. You know, and that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the top of the show, where I was talking about our ancestors who were all over the globe,
Hmm.
and then who became enslaved. So there was one state of consciousness when we, as a people, melanated people all across the globe, were just roaming free,
Hmm.
continent to continent, and you know, going across bodies of water and all that stuff. Then we became an enslaved people.
Hmm.
We were enslaved, and that required a consciousness that was bound.
Hmm.
Uh, we almost well, we did. We became minors. You know, you talk about being the sun, being the center of the universe, or becoming like a satellite planet that revolves around it.
Hmm.
We moved from understanding we, you know, were the center. We all are the center, not just everybody is actually the center of their own universe.
Hmm.
And things will revolve around you once you can take responsibility for the universe that you're creating.
Hmm.
So we knew that. Then you become enslaved. And it's like, and this is just my understanding. I'm not saying this is how it is. This is the way my brain understands this process. For now, it may change later, but for now, another consciousness has to take over that would allow enslavement to happen. And as that happened, um, the I'm not well, yes, I would say access diminished because when you begin to give over your power to another and say, look, you control that for me.
Hmm.
You tell me when to do this and how to do that, and not from a place of mm, teaching you so that you have more freedom, more access, more mastery, but so that you actually have less.
Hmm.
And that's what the enslavement process did. And it took us further and further and further away from our ancestors. Now, there clearly were people who stayed in the practice, even if it was, I don't really know how I know this.
Hmm.
I don't even know how I know what to do. Singing over food, all these things that we do and have done for, you know, hundreds of years that were iterations of what we were doing as free people
Hmm.
with mastery over our lives. Um, and then it feels like something begins to happen and somebody in the bloodline wakes up.
Hmm.
Like the ancestors are able to, we talked about these movies yesterday, Interstellar. The ancestors are able to make contact. They keep trying and trying and trying. And finally, somebody is able to read the symbol or saw that, oh my gosh, that felt, how did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody,
I'd better investigate.
they make connection and it's like, whoa. And then where you and I find ourselves right now begins to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Doors begin to open, communication begins to happen. And it's just wow. Freedom. Again, they're like, yes, someone's listening.
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you how to get free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to direct you on what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And even though, like you said, it seems like you're in bondage, what's happening is they're actually helping you get free again
Mm-hmm.
on all those different levels: mental, physical, emotional,
And
spiritual.
we actually had a conversation a little bit about this last night. When we talked about how the freedom gets to a point where some of the conversations you can't even have with other people anymore.
True.
Their minds, you created a universe so vast and so great, or you're communicating with mind or minds, the environment and nature, etc., at such a high level. And I'm not saying we're even there. I'm saying that
It's possible.
well, not only that, but we've gotten to a point where we can see that.
Yeah.
And we just started.
Yep.
So I think we actually had a conversation once. We were like, yo, what if we were doing this for 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
What would it sound like then?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Uh, there's some other things and tools. If you had more of these,
Yep.
what would the conversation sound like then? Not only between you and I, but with the environment.
Right.
Right? If
Right.
if you collected medicine, developed shrines, for instance, on every continent on in this world, what would that mean? What would that do?
Mm.
You see? So these are things like somebody be like, what a shrine? What are you talking about? You know, we're already well, we don't have any pushback on this show or anything like that, but you know that those conversations will go on with certain people.
Yeah. It'll come.
You
It'll
see?
come as our show, as people get, know we're out here. It'll come.
Well, the mathematics will be this show and some of the things that we're talking about aren't gonna the people who are there, it won't hold their interest long enough, probably. You know, we'll just get a little comment. You need to return back to this or
Right,
they won't,
right.
you know.
You're gonna go to hell.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, really?
exactly.
Where's
Exactly.
that exactly? What?
Yeah, sure. Um, but but yeah, that's what it comes down to, and that's a freedom in and of itself. Think about the imagination and its new capacity to imagine.
Hmm.
There's a saying that this gentleman, his name is Neville Goddard.
Oh, I love Neville.
Yeah, Neville, love Neville,
I love Neville.
love Neville. Neville had this one saying. He
He's
said,
from the Bahamas, right?
"Yeah, he's from the Bahamas, white guy."
Yep, yep.
And he was actually taught by a black man who was from North Africa
Mm,
named Abdullah.
mm.
But nobody's ever seen a picture of Abdullah. But anyway, uh, Neville had this one saying. He said, "Imagine better than the best you know.
I love that.
Imagine better than the best you know."
I love that. Wow.
And the way our mind is being organized and the way we're organizing our mind, our thoughts, in order to be able to communicate with spirit, it is taking the imagination to a whole different plane, to a whole different plane. And that in and of itself is only one aspect of the freedom,
Right.
because that imagination is only one intelligence,
Yep.
you know? So
That'd be a good show there too, is to talk about intelligence. I mean, there's so much meaty good stuff that comes out of all these shows. I love it.
yes.
I love it.
falling off the bone good.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Wow. Well, I had a neighbor to the south of me this morning tell me that she had a another dream full
Mm.
of red. She was wearing red pants, red suspenders, red vest, and a white shirt.
We'll recap the first one, so maybe there's a connection.
Okay, so the first dream she had, I don't have my notes in
Last week.
front of me, but this was last week.
Was same night? Because this is Thursday.
Yep, same night.
Okay,
No,
Thursday.
no, no, no. My bad. That was a Wednesday night,
Mm.
and this dream was a Thursday night. It was last night,
Right, last night.
almost a week ago. So these were apart by a day, a week and a day, or
Yep. Sequential Wednesday.
6 days, 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the first time she had a dream that she was at work, surrounded by all these women who were protective of her, protecting her,
Mm-hmm.
and that in real life these women are, kind of like allies at work.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a antagonist at work, and this person was in her dream, and these women who were protecting her kept telling her, "Do not read the red note paper." Said it was in a binder, in like a folder, and it was red paper. It was a note that was written on red paper, and they said the other woman, the antagonist, was not to read this note, but she, the woman who had a dream, my friend, they said, you are definitely not to read that note.
Mm.
Um, that was last week, Wednesday. Today, so she has this dream last night, which would have been Thursday.
Right.
Um, she's wearing red pants, red suspenders, red vest. She's like, I don't know why I'm getting all this red in my dreams all of a sudden. It's okay. We'll talk about that in another show, but suffice it to say, it's all good.
But what happened in
So
the dream though? Was that it? That's all she
that's
remembers?
all she remembered is what she was wearing. She's like, there was just red all over me in this dream, but my torso was white.
Mm.
Uh huh. She had a white shirt on.
And she's a black woman?
Uh huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh huh. She Geechee.
Geechee. Okay.
Her bloodline is from. She has traced it back to Haiti, and then
Oh,
into
wow.
North Carolina, into the Carolinas,
Uh-huh.
and then up here to Baltimore. But she's Geechee.
Mm.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yep, yep,
It's
yep,
going to be interesting to see what happens with that over the coming weeks or
yep,
days. Let's say days. Let's say days.
yep,
Let's say
yep.
days.
I'm definitely
Oh,
going to stay in close conversation with her about what's happening in her dream life.
uh-huh.
And she asked me. The matter of fact, she asked me, "Did you interpret on that dream from last week?" I said, "No, I haven't yet, but I'm going to when things open up. I am going to interpret. Now I've got two to interpret for her."
Mm.
So yeah, so that was it. I slept. I was like a log. I was like a rock. I didn't. There was no dream for me. I was out.
Mm. Well, I will say this. I didn't sleep very well. Well, I didn't sleep long enough to dream, really.
And that was probably the case.
Yeah, just didn't sleep long enough. But I'm thinking about her dream, and one thing that comes up is support.
Hmm.
So in the first dream, she was surrounded by women that she mentioned the word support, didn't she? Or you did.
I did.
Women were supporting her.
Hmm.
But then in the next dream, she's wearing suspenders.
Benders. Hmm. I saw that.
Hmm.
Yep.
So, it'd be interesting to, see what spirit communicates with that for you,
Hmm.
as you contemplate and think about it more. And maybe you got to go to your people.
Yeah.
Maybe you got to go to your people. But you keep us posted for sure.
I will.
It's gonna be
I
interesting.
definitely will. Definitely will. Cool. Well, this has been a great show. Now, do you have anything else you want to say before we?
Conclude.
Yeah.
Well, as always, it's been wonderful doing this show this morning. If people only knew, um, you know, uh, was all the things that are going on in the background, all the learning that's taking place, and we're sharing it all here, or a large percentage of it, just our how we applied it and things of that nature.
Hmm.
So I want to thank you, number one, for you know coming out this morning, but also for being a good friend and a support.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I want to make sure people know to find me, and I know you're going to give your contact information.
Hmm.
Shaka Guru on Facebook. Feel free to look me up there. I also have a YouTube channel where I have some of my own videos, but also these very same videos as well. Um, and you know, we rocking and rolling.
Yep, yep, yep.
Oh, and I need five. Actually, I have three slots. I think I have two slots left.
Hmm.
And who knows, I may do more, and I think you may do more too. But as of right now, I need two more people for the live divination on Google Hangouts.
Hmm.
And again, as always, if you are an Indigenous reader, we have an opportunity that we'd like to explain, or we'd like to talk to you about with Chief Amachi and the University of Traditional Sciences, or IIKES, um, International Indigenous Knowledge Development Society. So, contact either of us on that.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, you all can reach me at subiradivines.com. There's a place there where you can, reach out and contact me. Also, if you're on Facebook, hit me up on my personal page, Subira Falame. I also have a group called Sacred Warrior Indigenous Divination. Put in a request there. And I'll be really honest for that group. I will be looking at your profile to just to, because I want to really be cognizant of the folks that are coming into that group, and I don't want anybody getting bashed, or like that's just not going to happen. But if you are curious, if you have questions, if you want to learn, if you want to share, if things have different aspects, and we can have great conversation, please come to that group, Sacred Warrior Indigenous Divination. um, Sabira Divines is the other spot. And y'all know I'm a yogi and martial artist. So I
Mm,
also have Sacred Warrior Yoga. Any of those places you can reach me, and let's have a conversation. I love it.
yes,
Okay, so today being Friday, Shaka and I are taking tomorrow off. Both of us still make individual videos, so you can travel to our YouTube channels to see what we got going on the weekend, what we upload. Um, but we don't do the show on Saturday and Sunday, so we just kind of do our own thing. But we make a video every day,
every day.
every day.
Yeah,
All right, Shaka, and again to our viewer, good morning, and thank you for being here. And we will catch y'all on Monday.
that's right.
All right, go out, create a great day. And for those of you who know me, I love lions, so I'm gonna tell you, like I tell them on my Facebook page, roar through your life. Be a lion.
That's right. That's
Check
right.
y'all later. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.